All right. Hello there. What is going on, everyone? We are back at it with another double critical. We are going to be talking about Star Wars Legion today. I still have the triple critical graphic up there. That's so. Hold on a second. There we go. There we go. Let's turn off the triple crit. There we go. I didn't even realize that. I really like the triple critical, but that was a one-time thing. But what's going on, everyone? We've got a couple of people in our viewership already. So thank you guys for tuning in to the pre-show, which was the very boring, long wait pre-show. Usually 5 minutes just for me to share it out. That's what I typically tend to do. But we're going to be talking about Star Wars Legion today. We're going to be talking about the Black Defense die, or specifically the lack thereof. There is currently a big gaping hole in the defense die paradigm. So what's going on, Jacob Sabo? Happy rainy Sunday, everyone. It's not really raining here. It's been really nice here in Orlando. The family, we went out for a whole family walk this evening, and it was beautiful. What's going on, The Real Neil? Hope everything is going well. Well, thank you, brother. Everything is going quite well. I played some Armada today. Had a great day of gaming, and just a really good day all around. I gotta say, I have been trying to make some changes in my life, and they're very positive changes, and so it really helps. I'm feeling pretty good lately, and I think going for a little bit of a walk is good too, because exercise helps our endorphins kind of make us feel better. And honestly, after playing Armada and being on my feet all day, playing Legion or Armada or X-Wing, any of these games, like, how often do you really sit, right? Do you ever really sit when you play these games? And we are going to talk about the Black Defense Dice stuff, but I'm just going to kind of open things up, like, because I'll be honest with you, I have a couple of interesting points to make for the Black Defense Dice, and a couple of interesting ways to talk about it. But I feel like it's a shorter subject. I don't feel like I can really stretch the Black Defense Dice discussion into an entire hour's worth of double critical. So I kind of want to talk about some other things too, and also have time to interact with you guys. So that's kind of my agenda for today, is just to kind of to baloneying around. To never mind, I almost said something inappropriate. But yeah. What's going on, Peter? What's going on? Hey, Dinius. Got Armada tournament coming up. Any tips? Still haven't decided on lists yet. I would say this, and Peter, here's my advice. Now, because it's very general, vague advice, because usually, I don't know what your favorite faction is. I don't know what your favorite playstyle is. I'd say go for a list that you think is going to really give you the most fun. Like, if there's a list that you could lose and still have a really good time playing, do that. Maybe a list that's going to play differently at multiple different times. I'm actually looking at putting together a list of some of my favorite lists, and I think I'll do this from other games as well, but I was thinking about doing this for Armada today. Putting together, like a video that's like maybe my 10 favorite lists, or maybe start a little smaller, maybe like 5 of my favorite lists or something like that. And maybe even me keeping a section over on Crabbok.com with that type of stuff. Just because, like, lists that, and it's hard for me because I almost never play the same list twice, but lately I've been kind of feeling like, there's some lists I want to do more than others. So, yeah, but yeah, pick something I think that you can have a good time playing multiple games with. Maybe something that has a list that has some choices to be made, right? Like interdictors moving obstacles around, or some interesting choices. Maybe you're running certain objectives that allow you to play the game differently and make tough choices. Maybe you're running Ezra for the Rebels, giving you some interesting choices. Maybe you're running Radis for the Rebels, and you got to choose, what you set aside and when you drop things in and where you place them. interesting things like that. Like those are fun. And so I like the choices in our lists that allow us to have our like kind of like the same list, but play it very differently depending on the choices we make. So that's my advice: is pick something that's going to give you some interesting choices. You can learn something even if you lose your first game, and then try to implement that in the second game and potentially the third game, or however many rounds you're running. I know most standard tournaments are 3 to 4 rounds, but a lot of my tournaments, we only run 2-round tournaments, so they're kind of like casual play plus. So what's going on there? Hey, Dinia says, really like the drop fleet ships you painted up. Thanks, man. I've been having a really good time messing with drop fleet. It's been a really fun experience. I really like painting ships, and that's that's definitely a fun one. But yeah, Neil says he always sits to play Armada now. It's what you have to do after standing all shift. Yeah, I try to sit like as often as I can, but I gotta get a bird's eye view very often. Quinn Muka says, you want dice better than red? No, not better than red. Is a 4-up save not good enough? No. Black defense dice would be worse than red, but better than white, right? We're going to talk, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about today, because you look at the different dice that we have for attack. We've got white, which are the worst, red, which are the best, but for attack we also have black, which are kind of in between. But for the defense dice, we only have the white and the red. There is no black, and I think there's room for the black defense dice in Star Wars Legion. So that's what we're going to be talking about. But I'm thrilled to see you guys all joining us today, joining the chat. I haven't done a double critical in 2 weeks or so. I took last week off. Usually the last Sunday of the month I kind of take off. I know the schedule has been a little erratic, and it's been an interesting year for me. I've been trying to be a little more consistent with my Sunday evening streams. So the current schedule is as follows: is that we're generally shooting for the first 3 Sundays of each month to be double critical streams. Next Sunday we will not be doing double critical though. The next Sunday is a scheduled downtime, because there's a whole lot of unknowns going on with next Sunday, and I can't guarantee that I'll be able to do it. There's a chance I might do a surprise impromptu stream, but I'm not scheduling a double critical for next Sunday, so just be forewarned. All right. Just stumbled and got upon a guy on YouTube that somehow got Yoda, new Wookiees, and a super tactical droid, and the Magna Guard. The shipping industry is weird. He was either in the U.S. or Canada. My guess is probably Canada. The U.S. shipments are not even scheduled to show up this month, or possibly even until the end of next month. I'm guessing December is when the new stuff is going to be coming out in the United States. It's kind of unfortunate that these things happen, that there's no such thing as like a global street date anymore. And being in America, where we tend to get all of the most recent product last, or at least among the last, is a little frustrating. That's for sure. Fortunately, I'm still backlogged on painting and other stuff. Drop Fleet Commander has been keeping me pretty busy on the painting department. So these are good problems to have. I actually really enjoy that, because the TT Combat actually sent out quite a bit of product for me to review and to build up and paint up and stuff, all that stuff. And I liked it so much that I ordered a few extra pieces too. So that's why my UCM fleet is so large right now. So it's fun, kind of exploring new games and seeing, especially after playing Fantasy Flight games for so long. It's really cool to me to kind of dip my toes into the water for different game systems, and to see, oh, well, this does that way. Oh, and this does that. Like, a cool thing about Drop Fleet Commander is when a ship blows up, if it's a big enough ship, really, really small ships don't necessarily do it, but bigger ships, when they blow up, they have explosion damage. And they can and it's not always the same. You roll a die to kind of figure out just how terrible of an explosion it is. But if they're close enough to other ships, then they can damage those other ships too. And it's theoretically possible for you to have one ship that's weak and then for it to explode and push another ship over the edge, and then that ship explodes, and then you get like a domino effect of like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ships all exploding that were close enough to the next one to kind of push them over the edge. It doesn't happen like exactly like that all the time, but it is definitely possible. So like there's a lot of really fun things to be found when you're experimenting with new gaming systems. And so I think that's a fun thing, and then it's cool to kind of go back to Legion because or Armada or X-Wing, or because these games are a little bit simpler. And then if you want to go real simple, Marvel Crisis Protocol is probably the simplest out of all of those right now because like especially the terrain rules, it's not exactly like we're doing true line of sight or anything like that in Crisis Protocol. All right, so with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and begin to talk about the main reason, the hallmark topic of tonight's episode. It's should Legion have black defense dice? Basically, if you guys play Legion, you already are aware of how many. We have white, black, and red attack dice, but for defense dice, we only have white and red, and it's always been one of those things that I've been curious about, and I've even been a playtester for Legion before, but it was never even a thing. So it was never even like a thing that was like in but didn't make it or what have you. So it's been one of those things that I've wondered about for a long time, and I'd really love to be able to talk to like Alex Davey about it because he designed this game. He was the creator, and my guess is because I came on to Legion around the time that Luke Eddy came on to Legion, and so it's I came on to, but like started getting it real involved in like the first wave. The wave I was brought into playtest was I think the first wave that Luke had started working on also. But there was never black dice when I was involved in it, and so it makes me kind of wonder, if maybe there were. So like I guess the first part of this particular topic is, did they ever have black dice? Like my gut wants to tell me that maybe they did, but it was too convoluted. It made so basically attack dice are D8s, but defense dice are D6s, right? And currently there is I think there might not have felt like much of a difference between white, black, and red defense dice, and maybe that's a thing. And let me know if you agree or disagree. But if we look at white dice, they have 1 block, 1 surge, and 4 blanks. And we upgrade to red dice. Now all of a sudden we have 3 blocks, 1 surge, and 2 blanks. So there's a space there because a white dice has 1 block and a red dice has 3 blocks. We could have, and really without a surge, a red dice is still a 50-50 shot of a miss. So red dice aren't even that great. Like they're pretty good, but they're not that great. But there's space for 2 blocks, 1 surge, and 3 blanks. Right, there is space for that with the black die, and that's what that's the space. When I look at a dice chart, that's what I imagine is that black dice would have just been directly in between white and red, and I wonder if that was kind of on the planning table or on the whiteboard when the system was kind of being engineered, and I wonder if per chance there was sort of a brainstorming or a meeting of the minds where somebody said, "Hey, this black defense die just feels like it's the same as it's not different enough from the white or the red. I feel like we're just arbitrarily giving people all these numbers, and maybe the black die existed before Surge did, and maybe Surge was supposed to be the thing that made the difference, right? Because with a Surge, a white die would be the same as a black die without a surge, right? And then with a surge, a black die would be the same as a red die without a surge. And so maybe they didn't feel like they were distinct enough from one another. And that's kind of my guess of why they never showed up. But it could also be that maybe a black die was going to be something a little bit different. Maybe there was going to be like a critical dodge or something like that. Maybe the black die was going to have something different, and maybe it wasn't working out and it just had to go. Either way, for one reason or another, we've got 3 colors of attack dice, but only 2 colors of defense dice. A big part of that is probably just because, hey, they're only D6s, there's less sides, they're not distinct enough. We can kind of get away with it with doing attack dice because there's more sides. We're allowed to we can kind of spread the spreads and the likelihoods apart far enough. But that's like an interesting kind of reason why, like, when I look at like the dice charts and how many are available, I don't think that there would have been a big enough difference between white and black, and then black and red respectively. And that's probably why. Now, granted, I would still. Surges are the third color, says Quinn. That's that's kind of a good point. Like, from a certain point of view, there's 4 types of defense dice, right? If you have defensive surge, you have there's like white without defensive surge, there's white with defensive surge, there's red without defensive surge, and there's red with defensive surge. And then there's also red with impervious, free dodge, and defensive surge, and then bodyguard. So like there's a lot of different. And I think with the 2 colors of dice that we have already, there's already so many varying ways. It might have even been that maybe red dice had more. Like, maybe red dice originally had 4 blocks and a surge and only a single blank. Kind of like how the red attack dice only have the 1 blank. Red dice might have been, but maybe they were too good and it was causing games to kind of stale out. And maybe they said, hey, let's just get rid of the black dice and bring the red dice down closer to them to kind of, meet them halfway. So let's just say, let's kind of go into the double critical mode. Let's just say we did have black dice, black defense dice, and it was going to be two blocks, 1 surge, and 3 blanks. So kind of in that exact center spot. Who would have that, right? Who would have that? I feel like there's a couple of different ways you could go. I think you could potentially say, look, black is going to be the armored, junky. Like, maybe stormtroopers would have black dice for their armor. Maybe they didn't necessarily need red. Maybe you keep red for like hero units, right? Or very heavily armored characters. Maybe black dice would have been for, the people who have slightly better armor, but then maybe they, maybe, who knows? That could have been a thing. Or if not, I figure somebody like Scout Troopers, the Scout Troopers could have probably get away with having black armor, because they obviously have some plastoid armor, but not as much as Stormtroopers do, right? So I feel like that's kind of a good, like, mid-level. Like, to me, the Scout Troopers always felt like they're that in-between, but they have white armor, right? And they have defensive surge, but they have the white armor. So, like, I think, and I think that was kind of the medium, or, the in-between, is that, okay, well, they have white armor, but they have the defensive surge, so it's not that bad. But really, they have the same armor as Rebel Troopers, who are largely unarmored, right? So I've always thought that Scout Troopers would have been one of my first picks of a unit to get a black defense die, or maybe somebody like Agent Callus, somebody like that, who is, wearing clothing, but they have like a breastplate on. So somebody who's got like a mixture of armor and cloth would have been a good black die potential. That always seemed like a, like that kind, like the in between as far as theme, but maybe it just didn't make sense as far as mechanics were concerned, or maybe it just made certain things that you had to pay a certain amount extra to get red dice, but maybe it just didn't feel like it was worth it. But I always thought Scout Troopers, and I'm curious, if you guys have any suggestions or somebody who you think should have had those black defense dice. If they were in between the white and the red, who do you think would be a good candidate for that? And I wonder if that would be a good candidate for potentially for some of the heavier vehicles, because there's some vehicles that have armor and red defense dice, and they're like really, really hard to kill. Maybe a good, like, hey, look, we want this to be a tougher vehicle, but we don't want it to have quite the red defense dice, so maybe we'll just give it the black die instead. Like, that could have been a thing also. So who else should get it? Like, if what happens basically? Let's just say, what if they wanted to move forward in time, and let's say AMG says the same thing that I'm saying now. It's like, hey guys, like a fresh set of eyes, right? Maybe AMG comes into the game and they say to the audience, wow, we've got 3 colors of attack dice, but only 2 colors of defense dice. It's very easy when you've been playing a game or doing anything for a long time to not notice the things about it that are silly over time. Like, I've got this scrape on my wall in the bathroom, and it's something I need to paint over it. Basically, we had this thing on the wall. I ripped it down, and or I think the kids actually ripped it off. It was like a special little toothbrush holder that suctioned onto the wall, and one of the kids ripped it off, and so there's this big unpainted section of the wall where it just tore a big section of the wall off, and I need to paint over it. But I get so used to seeing it there all the time, and I don't use the kids' bathroom as often, that I just get so used to looking at it, it doesn't compute in my brain that, oh yeah, I need to go do this. As a matter of fact, as I'm talking about it anecdotally right now, I should be writing it down. Remember to get some paint, because the problem is it's such a pain in the butt, right? If I get that paint, I'm not gonna match the color just right, and then I'm just gonna have to paint the whole room. And it becomes a big deal. And is it worth painting the whole room when the kids are so young that they're just going to be spitting wrong stuff, toothpaste, and getting dirty hands all over that. Anyway, I'm digressing. My point is, it's very easy to get lost. Like, if you've been playing Legion for a long time, you're probably thinking that well, yeah, we just don't have black defense dice. That's just the way it is. Quinn says, I don't know. I think I would prefer if they put their budget into new product and allow them to just print surges or not to control how things save. Okay. Hey, Dinius says, it's a real Neil, thank you. Looking to get some ships, but wondering about which faction to go with a playstyle. Oh, we're talking about Drop Fleet there? Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole... I'll talk about Drop Fleet some more afterwards. So, yeah, we'll definitely do that. But yeah, so I don't know. So talking about budget into new products, so that's a good segue into what I'm going now. Like, what if AMG says, well, maybe we should have it. Maybe we should start putting that into new units. So maybe future units are going to get black defense dice, right? Well, let's just say they decided to do that. What would be good candidates for units to get a black defense dice? And would a black defense die be exactly the way that I imagined it, with 2 blocks, 1 surge, and 3 blanks? I have an idea. And I'm going to give you my double critical proposal for black defense dice. I'm going to say, and this might not be the best for a black defense die, but we're going to do it anyway. What if black defense dice came in sort of a force, like a Jedi? Well, let's say they do 2 new battle passes, or battle forces, right? A Jedi and a Sith battle force, and they allow you to mix your heroes of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker can team up versus Darth Vader and Darth Maul and stuff like that. No, not surge to double block, but nice guess, Andrew Lynch. What's going on? Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. No, I'm going to say, what if we had just 2 blocks? And then we had 2 surge sides and 2 blank. If you have defensive surge, that would be about the same as a red defense die. But since maybe you give it to characters that don't specifically have defensive surge, you give it to those characters that have deflect, right? Give that black defense die to characters that want to use that dodge, because that dodge is going to be way more important on a black defense die if it has 2 surge sides. That's going to give you a ton of extra survivability. And so that's kind of my suggestion. What if we consider a black defense die with 2 blocks, 2 surges, and 2 blanks? The blanks are my thumbs. So let me know what you guys think of something kind of like that. But yeah, I think that'd be a kind of a cool way to do it. And it could basically be that enhanced defensive capability, but that people have not because of their armor, but because of their reflexes. And to go along with that, they could have, like, since they're already in the habit of errataing, older stuff. I mean, this might even be something that's already in the works, but maybe we would see an errata to Luke Skywalker. And I mean, Vader could still keep the red one because he does have the physical armor. Right? Vader might not need it. I would love to see Palp have something like that. That would be really, really cool. We have ourselves a super chat. Boom! What's going on from Stinger Marine 85 super chat? Thank you for supporting the channel, Stinger Marine. I appreciate you, buddy. He says, new player here, and found your channel. Wanted to say thank you for the great content. Any tips on finding players when the LGS is focused on 40K? Well, that's a fantastic question. First off, thank you for being here. Thanks for showing some support for the channel. Thanks for joining us in chat. What I would suggest is, if you are looking to, like, depending on which game you're looking for, whether it's Armada, X-Wing, or Legion, since this is a Legion stream tonight, I'll focus on Legion. What I usually find is there's a lot of communities on Facebook. Now, I know a lot of people don't use Facebook, but because Facebook is particularly widespread, especially amongst communities, meetups, and businesses, if you don't have a Facebook account, you might want to create one, just simply, if nothing else, for the purposes of gaming and finding meetups. You could even just use a fake name or something like that. But yeah, I would definitely create and start looking for groups, gaming groups in your area or in your larger city area. If there's nothing, if you live like in a smaller town and there is nothing, in your small town, maybe look in the nearest big cities town, something that might, the nearest city that's within driving distance from you, and just try to see if there are people in that. You can also join Discord. We have links down in the description below. You should definitely check out those links because there's a lot of different people from all around the United States and all around the globe, depending on where you're at, that might be able to potentially point you in the right direction. I know that there is also tournament finders that are available. I'm sure I don't have any of that saved off the top of my head, but yeah, there definitely are a number of resources for making sure that people can find each other and schedule games. Now, if you already have an LGS that's focused on 40K, I guess my question for you is then, do they sell Legion, or do they sell product for whatever game you're looking at? I know sometimes 40K specific stores don't tend to sell Fantasy Flight Games stuff. But yeah, that's definitely what I would suggest. If they sell the product, then I would ask the store and ask them if they have any local game nights for Legion or whatever. And if not, ask if you can maybe put up like a flyer. One of the difficult problems, they do sell Fantasy Flight, yes. Well, then I would definitely be asking the folks at the front counter, hey, how popular is this product? Do you have any nights? Are you looking to start any nights? If so, count me as a +1, because sometimes they just don't have enough interest. And so definitely let them know of your interest, because the more people that do that, even if you're the first one, the next time somebody comes in here, that same clerk might be like, yeah, we actually had some other people that were looking to get some Legion going, and so if they hear it, it's gonna, what you don't want to do is you don't want to just be walking around the store silent. You got to talk to people, and you got to take some initiative to get things going, because there could already be a meetup night, and maybe you don't know about it. So talk to people about it at the store, and if they're just against it, if they're like, no, we hate Star Wars here, we only sell it because we have to, or whatever, ask them if they have any suggestions on where you could go. I know sometimes there's like VFWs or local libraries that will have game nights. Sometimes those are more focused on board gaming. But there are definitely a lot of places in many different areas that are conducive to some type of gaming environment like that. But yeah, so hopefully that was helpful. But yeah, definitely check the Facebook group, check the Discord, but talk to the people in your store. Maybe even consider creating, like if there is no gaming group for where you are, maybe consider creating one. Once you talk to a couple of people, you probably don't want to join a group and create a group and be the only person in it. But look for the next larger one. If you're outside of Chicago, try that. Try Chicago gaming, and then when you join their group, you're like, hey, anybody, down here in this town or something to that effect. That usually tends to work. I know I'm in a fairly larger city. I'm in Orlando, Florida, and there's a lot of people that will come to our events in Orlando, but some of them drive for a little while. Some people come from Daytona, some people come up from Sarasota, people come from Tampa, people come down from Jacksonville, and everywhere in between. And when we have big events, and so that's a great way to talk to other people and be like, hey, is anybody from Lakeland? And maybe somebody there is from Lakeland, and there's maybe you guys have a smaller meetup on the off weekends when there's not anything else going on. So that's kind of how relationships kind of get made and grown and to turn into gaming groups. All right, so let's keep going with some more of the discussion. So I think it'd be a cool idea, if they did decide to add black defense dice, maybe Jedi would get kind of errated, or maybe just certain new Jedi, maybe like less powerful Jedi, like Inquisitors, and maybe like Jedis in training, like maybe young Ezra would have something like that. Somebody who's not fully there. I could see that. That could be a fun thing to do. Let's talk about something else, kind of Legion related. Have any of you guys been doing any of the luxury playstyle tokens, or have seen me talking about luxury playstyle tokens? We've got these awesome Crabbok lightsaber nunchuck tokens that you can get if you spend $35 or more and use that code Crabbok VIP over at luxuryplaystyle.com. I have links for that in the description as well. Well, I know a lot of people have been asking about the Legion tokens. When are we getting Legion tokens from Luxury Playstyle? They're in the works. I don't have anything to show you yet. I have something in my hand. I can't show it to you yet, though. So here, this is a sound preview. Ready? You hear that? There you go. You got your first ever preview of some Legion stuff from Luxury Playstyle. That's silly. No, we're looking at Black Friday. Is kind of our target date for kind of launching the new wave. We're gonna start off with, so there's gonna be order tokens that are available, and I know a lot of people are using like poker chips. Order tokens are coming first. And then not long after, we'll be doing like the first wave of the most common tokens that you are likely to need in Star Wars Legion. And then, depending on how all of this stuff goes after that, then we'll be moving into the tokens that are needed less, right? That's the most I can say about that. But here's the thing, being completely honest and completely frank with you, luxury playstyle tokens are a luxury, right? You've got your cardboard tokens. They're not, obviously it's not for everybody. Not everybody can afford to really invest in spicing up their game and really like kind of blinging out their game. So a full set of order tokens from luxury playstyle would be very, very expensive. Because the order tokens are really beautiful, but they're also larger, right? If you ordered any luxury playstyle tokens before, a lot of them are pretty small, about the size of a dime or a penny, and that's not going to work for order tokens, which are like poker chip sized, right? And I know there's a lot of other people out there that sell poker chip order tokens, and there's nothing wrong with those. But if you want to have like a deluxe version, they're going to be more expensive. And to prevent like sticker shock of people saying like, oh my gosh, this is way too expensive, what we're looking at doing is having a build your own set type of thing. Because normally you order a set of like, somebody who gets like one of the poker chip token things, you get like 2 of everything, 3 of this thing, 6 core, and you get like the full set. You get basically enough tokens for everything you could possibly want to build. And instead of necessarily doing that, and you can still get that, that's still going to be an option, but not everybody, runs like 45 different versions of every list that they could run. So we're looking at having like a smaller set of like, all right, commander, 3 core, and support, or something like that. I don't know if we've exactly decided on what the intro level is, and then you just add whatever else you want on there. So and you can always come back and just like add more at some other time. So like that's kind of what we're thinking about doing right now to keep the cost from becoming too high and kind of, especially like maybe you don't want to run heavies. Right? Well, why should you pay for 2 heavy tokens that you're not going to use? Right? So I think that makes the most sense, and it allows for the most people to be able to try and upgrade their game without necessarily having to get tokens that they don't plan to use. And because these are all really, really high-end tokens, and that's they're gorgeous, and I'm really proud of what we've done. But at the same time, I know that they're expensive. You're not getting something cheap. You're getting something fantastic. And so I wanted to make sure that all of the tokens we were going to do were double-sided. So while you're paying a lot to get something very, very high-end, you're also going to be able to have it double-sided tokens, since there's some of the tokens you have to flip, like shields and things like that. But most of the tokens in the game you don't end up having to flip. So for folks that want to that want to have something great but don't want to have to buy twice as much, that allows you to kind of get a little bit of making more of a smart purchase this way. So that's kind of that's basically the spoilery stuff for the day regarding that. I know a lot of people have been asking me, hey, when are they coming out? When are they coming out? We're looking at late November, looking at Black Friday. I don't know if I'll have a preview video before then or not, so we're still kind of waiting on a few details, and as I get more information, I'll be able to share it with you. There's a whole lot of things I would love to share with you right now, but and of course I've got to caveat all of this with if shipping and other unforeseen things happen, that's going to impact this as well. So there we go. But I'm pretty sure you guys are going to very much like them. I'm excited to see what you guys have to say, and I'm excited to get these on my tabletop as well, because they're really nice. All right. So I think that's kind of rounding down the major talking points on I've checked all the boxes on my particular list of things that I needed to talk about tonight for both the black defense dice, the tokens, the who might get black defense dice in the future, or maybe it would be. Let me ask you this last thing: do you think if they wanted to make a special Jedi specific defense die, do you think it would make more sense for them to go with a different color as opposed to black? Because if it's not going to be directly in between white and red, kind of like how the black attack die is in between the white and red, if it's not going to be in between, would it make more sense for it to be a whole different color altogether? If it's going to have multiple surges, that makes it unique. Should it be like a purple die or a pink die? Since Will Schick likes to paint all the Star Wars characters pink, I'm curious, if something like that would be maybe a green. Oh. Going after the X-Wing style defense dice, right, with the focuses on there. Yeah, that could totally be a thing, but here's the other thing. If you're going to introduce a new die color, and here's what makes it tricky, how do you get that product into people's hands without making the costs go through the roof, right? Like, does every new expansion come with one die? Like, how many dice might you have to roll, right? Like, there's really big die pools out there, and you could potentially have to roll like 20 dice in one attack. Usually that's not the case. Typically for defense dice, you typically roll, between 1 and 6, That's fairly typical, In my case, usually usually it's less than 5. But yeah, a second edition. That's a way to do it. I don't see AMG doing a second edition of Legion right now. What I was gonna suggest, but that's definitely a possibility, right? A second edition is a great opportunity to completely revamp the approach to dice and the colors and all of that stuff. I don't think the game needs that. I feel like Legion is pretty stable. But if that's something that they wanted to do, that would definitely be a way. I think Battle Forces is a way to do that. If you're going to introduce that mechanic in a in a new, like if you wanted to have a Jedi battle force and a Sith battle force, and maybe even to coincide with a new hero mode, which is kind of like a kill team skirmish kind of thing or something like that, right? Let's just say we were going to do all of those things, and that's a fun. That should be something I talked about in the future, like basically like a Star Wars Crisis Protocol or something like that. 100% going to happen eventually, sure, eventually, but I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we are. It could happen though. It could happen within the next 2 years, just because AMG being handed all these new game systems might eventually say, we would have done this differently. We would have done this differently. And after enough time saying that, they said, you know what? Screw it. Let's do this differently. And okay. I think that might be a thing that ends up happening. And I guess we'll have to wait and see. All right. But I think if you do a Sith and Jedi battle force, and maybe they're each sold in a different, like a mini starter kind of box, that would be a good opportunity also to introduce new dice. So let's just say you're getting a Sith battle force, and let's say it comes with Savage Opress, the Grand Inquisitor, the Seventh Sister, and Asajj Ventress, right? And like new rules to like run heroes and operatives, and just to run those as a fun little option. And maybe that comes with 6 of the new dice. They could also sell a dice pack that's 6, so you can get those if you don't want. And then also do a Jedi version that also has the same 6 dice. And then and then maybe the Jedi version comes with Ezra and Kanan and Ahsoka as an adult and Cal Kestis or something like that. Or they don't all have to be Rebels. Those are only Rebels era Jedi. So maybe Kanan and Cal Kestis, and then we'll do Kit Fisto and Ki-Adi-Mundi, right? Something like that. Like that'd be a really fun pack to have. Oh man, I'll say this. One thing I'm excited about with AMG taking over, and there's not too many because it's weird. And it's not a slight in AMG. It's more of a weird situation of all 3 games getting switched to a new company that wasn't prepared for this, or at least wasn't expecting this. Because it's a lot, right? And that's why they've had to kind of pause with Armada for right now. Could just give Jedi Sith tokens to be used as deflections instead of new defense. That would probably be that's another way to do it. That sounds like a very Fantasy Flight Games way of doing things, right? And that could be reasonable, but we're not here to be reasonable. We're here to be double critical, right? So. But yeah, definitely possibility. I appreciate the suggestions. I definitely do. No, but like let's just talk about these new like battle forces if they do that. I'm so excited to see that if AMG gets kind of on a roll like they were with Marvel Crisis Protocol, putting out like different Jedi and Sith and heroes and iconic characters for Star Wars Legion. Like, look how many Marvel Crisis Protocol characters we get. It's ridiculous. This is a side note. They get a lot of stuff from Marvel Crisis Protocol all the time. What if we started getting all these different Jedi? Ki-Adi-Mundi, Kit Fisto, Mace Windu, High Republic, Stellan Gios, freaking video game characters, Star-Lord, not Star-Lord, Star Killer, right? Like, I want all of that stuff. An Imperial Remnant battle force? Absolutely. They did say, didn't they confirm Gideon Hask? Not Gideon Hask. Moff Gideon. There's 2 Gideons, and I think they confirmed Moff Gideon. So yeah, there's a lot more. There's a lot more that they can do, and it's an exciting time to be playing these games if they kind of keep the if they keep the energy they have for Marvel Crisis Protocol and dump it into this game. Yeah, if they're doing Moff Gideon, they're definitely going to do an Imperial Remnant. I mean, I almost want to say somebody said something like that could happen, but I don't know. I think that's just one of those things that I always thought was a sure thing. I always think an Imperial Remnant. It just seems too likely. And then even for the Rebels, you could do kind of like a New Republic, and I'm not sure how you would refer to it. Vanguard of the New Republic or something like that. Like the very representing the beginning of the New Republic, not without having to come in and make it a whole sequel trilogy factions and stuff. And then maybe one day, if we start getting a whole lot of stuff and new shows and stuff, and the timeline moves forward far enough, then maybe there'll be enough at some point to justify making those their own whole separate factions. But for now, I think that sounds like a great idea. So. Yeah, there's a whole lot we can still see and do, and maybe black defense dice are in the cards, or maybe maybe we don't even need defense dice at all. Maybe we just use red defense. Maybe we just use attack dice as defense dice, right? Like the same symbols, like just count hits as blocks, right? But what do you do for crits? Would a critical block just be able to cancel a critical result? Would that be the thing that makes it better? Like maybe, or maybe you just treat it like, because that's how Marvel Crisis Protocol. Well, Marvel Crisis Protocol has both hits and blocks on the dice, so it could be either one. But there's other games that successes are just successes. So you don't necessarily need a separate attack die and a defense die. Like X-Wing, you've got you have the critical hit. So they're slightly different, but really you could just have a thumbs up or a thumbs down on every side of the die. Oh, I rolled more successes than fails. I win. So you really don't need to have all those dice. That's one thing. That's another thing I like about Marvel Crisis Protocol. And that's what's so cool about trying new game systems. Is just you're like, this works. They don't need this. They don't need this. So there's a lot of dice systems that are kind of convoluted in FFG games, so especially looking at Drop Fleet. So we were asked to kind of talk a little more about Drop Fleet or whatever. It's a D6 game. D6 games, 40K, and all of these other games, they just roll D6. That's all you need. You play the whole game with a single die. You might have to roll it 10 or 20,000 times in that game, but that's pretty cool. The same die can be used for everything. Because really, if it's all about probability, it doesn't matter what the symbols are like. In FFG games, you're rolling a D8 or a D6. Some really, really advanced games like Rune Wars had a D12. Rune Wars was where it's at. I love D12s. A D12 might be my favorite D of all the Ds. I like. Oh my goodness. I think some battle forces will eventually have access to unique units. Yeah, well, some already do. The Shadow Collective already has the exclusive access to Maul Commander and the Maul DeLoreans, or the Mandalorian Super Commandos. I think that's a very reasonable way to gain unique access to certain characters. How many of you guys, when you saw the initial preview for Shadow Collective, saw those Black Sun dudes and were like, are we getting Zizor? Does that mean we're also getting Dash Rendar in Star Wars Legion? Like, how many people want to see more EU or Legends stuff show up in Star Wars Legion? Like, how cool would that be to see characters like Starkiller or Dash Rendar or Mara Jade and all these characters show up? Again, I don't know if they'll do some of those because of the fact that they may be kind of earmarked for future things. I have a feeling we'll see Mara Jade in the future when they start doing the Thrawn live action show, but that'd be really cool. I'd love to see it. Would love to see it. All right, guys. Well, that's going to kind of wrap it up. We're going to kind of wrap it up a little early today. This was a shorter topic. But it was a good time talking to you guys. I want to thank you all for hanging out this Sunday evening. I hope you all have get some rest. Have a great week. You're gonna have a fantastic week. The Force will be with you. And Dash Rendar needs his own show. Film best Legends character. I don't know if he's the best Legends character. Look, I liked him when I was a kid when that book came out because it was like one of the first Star Wars books I ever read, and so I thought he was cool. His ship was cool, and the toy, the original Kenner toy, or was it Hasbro at the time? Like it did the whole B-wing thing. Like it did stuff it wasn't supposed to do. You know, like it was a cool ship. You know, and it was a cool book, and they marketed it really, really well. But Dash Rendar was kind of just like. Kind of like Han Solo, right? I don't know. I don't remember him doing anything. Like I can't even remember him doing anything. I just remember him being in a lot of things. Like he was cool because he was in the Shadows of the Empire N64 game. He was cool because he was in Shadows of the Empire the book. He was cool because he's in a really cool ship. You know, that's most of the stuff that I remember. But I would love to, if they did bring him back into canon, I'd love for them to kind of put a little bit more specific spin on him. What's going on, Alex? I'm doing well, but getting ready to wrap up the stream. We are just finishing up for the day. But I look forward to talking to you guys more. We got a Legion battle report coming out in the morning. It's a pretty groovy one. It's a slightly different format too. It's a long form Legion battle report, and I'd love to get your feedback. Let me know what you think of it. We'll talk to you guys later. I want to thank my patrons. You guys are amazing and help make all this content possible. So thank you for your continued support. And always remember, when you're opening a can of tuna, use a can opener. Don't use